Most people won't notice anything unusual the next time they walk into a grocery store. The shelves will look normal, the prices will seem about the same, and life will feel completely ordinary. But somewhere between that moment and 60 to 90 days from now, something is going to shift. And by the time most people feel it, it will already be too late to do anything about it affordably. Right now, container shipping rates are climbing. 3 of the world's busiest ports are experiencing significant congestion, with delays stretching into weeks rather than days. And wholesale distributors, the middle layer between manufacturers and your local stores, are already quietly revising their price sheets upward. They're not making announcements. There are no headlines warning you. It's just happening, steadily and silently, one link at a time in a chain that ends at your wallet. In this video, we're going to break all of that down in plain language. We'll explain exactly how these upstream shifts eventually reach your checkout counter, when the biggest price jumps are likely to hit, and, most importantly, we're going to walk you through a practical 21-item checklist of things you can do right now to protect your household before any of this becomes impossible to ignore. And make sure you stay until the end, because the final few items on this list are the ones that almost nobody thinks about until they desperately need them. Welcome to Food Decider, the channel dedicated to helping you make smarter, calmer decisions for your home and your family. If that's the kind of content you want more of, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe. It genuinely helps us keep making videos like this one. Let's start with the part that most people never see, the mechanics of how a disruption that begins on the other side of the world eventually ends up costing you more for a box of pasta or a tank of gas. Think of the global supply chain as a long relay race. Raw materials get extracted or harvested first. Then manufacturers turn those materials into products. Those products get loaded onto container ships and moved across oceans. Distributors receive them at ports, warehouse them, and sell them in bulk to retailers. Retailers stock their shelves. And finally, you buy what's on those shelves. Now here's the critical thing to understand. Every single one of those stages absorbs cost increases for a while before passing them along to the next link. A shipping company might eat rising fuel costs for a few weeks before raising freight rates. A distributor might hold prices steady for a month before updating their catalog. A retailer might absorb margin compression for a bit before changing the sticker on the shelf. This is exactly why there's always a delay between when a disruption happens and when consumers feel it at retail level. Economists and logistics analysts call it the downstream lag, and historically it runs between 6 and 10 weeks from the moment of upstream disruption to the moment consumers notice price increases at retail level. And that lag is exactly what we're living through right now. At this moment, container shipping rates are rising. 3 of the world's most important ports are experiencing significant congestion, with delays stretching into weeks rather than days. And wholesale distributors, the companies that sit between factories and your local stores, are already quietly updating their pricing. That process has already begun. The clock is already running. If you map that 6 to 10 week window forward from where the wholesale adjustments are currently happening, it places the most noticeable consumer-level price jumps right around mid-April. That's not a prediction designed to scare you, it's just an honest read of where the timeline sits based on how these systems have always behaved. And here's the uncomfortable truth about that window. By the time prices visibly jump at your local store, it's already weeks too late to buy ahead at current prices. The only people who benefit from knowing this are the ones who act before the retail price changes catch up to the wholesale reality that already exists. That's the whole reason this video exists, not to create panic, not to encourage hoarding, but to give you a calm, structured, practical window of opportunity to get ahead of something that is already in motion. So let's get into the list. 21 items and strategies, organized not by urgency of drama, but by category, so you can work through them logically and build genuine household resilience without chaos or overspending. We're going to start with energy and power, because fuel is historically the earliest and most volatile commodity to respond to supply chain stress. The first thing worth having is a set of proper fuel storage containers. We're talking about 5-gallon metal or HDPE jerry cans, the kind you can store safely in a garage or outdoor shed. Fuel prices respond to supply disruptions faster than almost anything else, and local shortages, while rare, do happen during high-demand crises. Having a modest personal reserve buffers you against both price spikes and short-term local scarcity. Safety matters here enormously. Keep containers away from any ignition source, label them clearly, and never store gasoline indoors. But here's a detail that a lot of people skip entirely, and it costs them later. Gasoline without a stabilizer starts degrading within 30 days. It forms a varnish that gums up engines and renders the fuel useless in exactly the scenarios where you need it most. A single bottle of fuel stabilizer costs just a few dollars and extends the life of stored gasoline by 12 to 24 months. It's inexpensive insurance, and it belongs with every fuel container you own. While we're on the subject of stored fuel, a manual fuel transfer pump is worth adding to your kit.
It sounds like a small thing, but try pouring fuel from a heavy 5-gallon can into a generator at 2 in the morning during a blackout, and you'll understand immediately why a hand-operated siphon pump matters. It keeps the transfer clean, controlled, and safe, and it costs almost nothing. Now let's talk about cooking. During a power outage, even households with gas stoves can lose their ignition systems, which means no flame, no cooking, no hot water. A propane camp stove with a supply of 1-pound canisters solves this completely. You can boil water for medications, prepare meals for children, and maintain a basic level of normalcy that matters enormously for morale when everything else feels uncertain. This is especially important for families with young children, elderly members, or anyone who depends on hot food for health reasons. And speaking of power more broadly, a portable power station with solar panel compatibility is one of the most genuinely useful investments you can make before disruptions hit. These are high-capacity lithium battery packs with AC outlets, USB ports, and DC outputs. They can run CPAP machines, keep a small refrigerator going for a few hours, charge phones and radios, and power basic lighting. Models with solar input panels can be recharged indefinitely off-grid. The key is matching the station's output capacity to your actual household needs before you buy. Now let's move into food, water, and health, because these are the areas that affect daily life most directly, and where price increases will be felt most consistently. Food prices climb rapidly when fuel costs rise, because everything from farming to transport to refrigeration depends on energy. The goal here is not panic buying. It is not stockpiling years of freeze-dried emergency rations. It is simply building a 3 to 4 week buffer of the shelf-stable staples your household already eats: rice, dried beans, lentils, canned proteins, pasta, nut butters, shelf-stable milk, canned vegetables, and fruits. The simplest approach is to just buy one extra of each staple item during your regular grocery runs, until you've built that buffer. Then rotate, using the oldest stock first and replacing it on a rolling basis. Most people don't think about over-the-counter medications until they need them, but pharmaceutical supply chains are more globally interlinked than almost any other product category, and even common drugs can temporarily vanish during upstream disruptions. Right now, while shelves are fully stocked and prices are normal, is exactly the time to build a 3-month supply of the basics: pain relievers, antihistamines, antacids, anti-diarrheal medication, and cold and flu remedies. This is basic household insurance that costs very little to maintain and matters enormously when you actually need it. Electrolyte supplements are something very few people include in preparedness planning, and it's a real gap. During emergencies involving heat, physical stress, illness, or prolonged activity, water alone is often insufficient for proper hydration. Electrolyte packets, the kind that dissolve in water, are inexpensive, lightweight, and genuinely important for children, elderly family members, and anyone with chronic health conditions. 2 or more boxes scaled to household size is a reasonable starting point. Water itself is non-negotiable. All of your other preparations assume you have access to clean water. The baseline recommendation is 1 gallon per person per day, stored in BPA-free containers. For a family of 4, that's a minimum of 28 gallons for a single week. Store it, rotate it every 6 to 12 months, and don't assume municipal supply is invulnerable. Even city water systems can be compromised during large-scale events. Beyond stored water, compact portable filtration devices from brands like Sawyer or LifeStraw allow you to safely draw water from lakes, rivers, or collected rain if your stored supply runs out. These units filter bacteria and protozoa without electricity or chemical treatments, and they're small enough to store anywhere. Two items that fall under health but are almost always overlooked deserve direct attention here. The first is a buffer supply of any prescription medications that anyone in your household takes daily. Even 30 days of extra supply, obtained by refilling slightly early or requesting an emergency supply from your doctor, provides a meaningful safety net during disruptions. For some medications, a 90-day mail order supply already builds this in automatically. The second is backup eyeglasses. Losing corrective lenses during a crisis is genuinely debilitating. It limits your ability to read, drive, navigate, and function. Keep an older pair or an inexpensive backup pair both at home and in your vehicle. Now let's move into the third category, communication, security, and mobility, because when infrastructure starts to fail, information and mobility become your most critical assets. Cellular networks are far more fragile than most people assume. During disasters, they fail due to physical damage, power loss, or simple congestion from too many simultaneous users. A NOAA weather radio solves this problem elegantly. These devices operate entirely independently of commercial networks, broadcast official emergency alerts and real-time updates directly from the National Weather Service, and cost less than $30. They work when nothing else does. For family-level communication when cell towers are down, GMRS, General Mobile Radio Service, handheld radios are the practical answer. These operate peer-to-peer, requiring no towers, no infrastructure, and no internet connection. In open terrain, they work across several miles. Keep one unit at home and one in each vehicle in your household.
The ability to reach your family members when phones aren't working is worth more than almost any other item on this list. For those who depend on internet connectivity for remote work, medical management, or critical communications, a satellite internet backup, available on standby or low-cost plans when not in active use, provides an independent communication pathway that ground-based infrastructure failures simply cannot disrupt. A trauma kit with basic training attached to it is something every household should have, and almost none do. Severe, uncontrolled bleeding is a leading cause of preventable death during emergencies, precisely because professional help is delayed. A proper trauma kit, containing a tourniquet, hemostatic gauze, and compression bandages, costs very little, but the equipment is useless without the knowledge to use it correctly. The Stop the Bleed program offers free and low-cost training that teaches exactly this skill set. The combination of the kit and the training is what actually saves lives. On the physical security side, two inexpensive upgrades make a meaningful difference. Security window film, applied to glass doors and windows, holds shattered glass together in the event of a break-in or storm, preventing both injury and rapid unauthorized entry. Motion-activated exterior lighting at entry points and dark areas around your home is one of the most cost-effective deterrents available. It signals occupancy, disrupts the cover of darkness, and discourages opportunistic intrusion. Neither of these requires professional installation or significant investment. Personal safety more broadly is a topic worth considering honestly. During extended disruptions, emergency response times can stretch significantly. What the appropriate response looks like for your household is something only you can determine, based on your specific circumstances, training level, and comfort. What matters is that you think about it now, make deliberate decisions, and if firearm ownership is part of that decision, that it comes paired with proper storage and formal training, not as an afterthought. Finally, two items that belong in every vehicle and are almost universally overlooked. First, a spare serpentine belt. This single belt drives your vehicle's alternator, water pump, power steering, and in many cases, the air conditioning. When it fails, your vehicle stops, immediately and completely. A replacement belt costs between $15 and $30 at any auto parts store, fits easily in your trunk, and can mean the difference between getting home and being stranded during a high-stress situation. Second, a physical road atlas. GPS navigation fails when your battery dies, when cell networks go down, or when satellite signals are unavailable. A paper map requires zero infrastructure, zero power, and zero connection. It simply works, as long as you know how to use one, which is worth practicing now, before you actually need it. Having a list of supplies is only part of the picture. The bigger challenge for most households isn't knowing what to get, it's building a mindset and a process that makes preparedness sustainable, calm, and genuinely effective over the long term. The most important thing to understand is that effective preparation is not a single frantic shopping trip. It is not maxing out a credit card on gear you don't understand and won't know how to use. It is a series of small, deliberate, well-reasoned decisions made before pressure is visible. Start with the absolute foundations: clean water, a food buffer, a basic power solution, and the ability to communicate. Then build from there, one category at a time, at a pace that fits your household budget and lifestyle. When you layer preparedness gradually, something interesting happens. It stops feeling like anxiety management and starts feeling like ordinary household management, because that's exactly what it is. The same logic that tells you to keep a spare light bulb in the cupboard tells you to keep an extra week of rice in the pantry. The same thinking that keeps a first aid kit under the bathroom sink applies to keeping a trauma kit in the hallway closet. It's not extreme, it's just sensible. Supplies without maintenance become waste. Food expires, water goes stale, batteries drain, medications reach their use-by dates. The only way to get genuine value from a preparedness kit over time is to treat it as a living system, something you review, rotate, and update on a regular schedule. Set a recurring calendar reminder every 6 months or once a year. When it fires, check your food rotation, top up your water, verify your battery levels, confirm your prescription buffer is still adequate, and inspect the condition of everything in your emergency kit. It takes an hour. It costs almost nothing, and it means your preparations are actually useful when you need them, rather than a pile of expired and depleted items you forgot about. The households most likely to stay functional during disruptions aren't necessarily the ones with the most gear. They're the ones where at least one person knows how to use what they have. Reading the manual for your portable power station before the power goes out, practicing a route home on a paper map before GPS fails, taking the Stop the Bleed course before anyone is bleeding, running a drill where the family communicates on GMRS radios before the cell network is congested. These are skills, not purchases, and they're what actually separate households that manage emergencies calmly from households that fall apart under pressure. If you're thinking about formal training, community emergency response programs exist in most cities and counties, often offered for free or at very low cost. Basic first aid and CPR certification is widely available.
These aren't survival courses for extreme scenarios, they're practical skills for ordinary people preparing for the kinds of disruptions that actually happen. Severe storms, extended outages, localized supply shortages, and the occasional medical emergency. There is a broader truth underneath all of this that's worth saying plainly. Supply chain turbulence is no longer an occasional anomaly. It has become a recurring feature of the global economy. The interconnectedness that makes it possible for you to buy a product manufactured on the other side of the world for a few dollars also means that disruptions anywhere in that system, a port delay, a shipping rate spike, a regional political event, a weather disaster, eventually find their way to your grocery receipt and your utility bill. Households that understand this and build even modest, intelligent buffers against it are not fearful households. They are not fringe households. They are simply households that have accepted a reality that the data has been signaling clearly for several years and chosen to respond to it with practical, quiet action rather than reactive panic. The window to act comfortably at current prices with full shelf availability without rushing is open right now. In 60 to 90 days, that window will be much narrower. Acting now means locking in today's prices on items you'll use anyway. It means building the buffer before the buffer becomes necessary. It means being the household that weathers the disruption without drama, rather than the ones scrambling to catch up after the shelves have already thinned and the prices have already jumped. Start with the item that feels most accessible and most relevant to your household's specific vulnerabilities. Order it or pick it up this week, then do the next one. Quietly, systematically, without urgency or anxiety, because urgency and anxiety are exactly what you're trying to protect yourself from. Your future self, standing calmly in a well-stocked kitchen while prices climb around you, will be grateful that you paid attention today. That's it for this video. If you found this useful, please share it with someone in your life who would benefit from hearing it. A family member, a neighbor, a friend who you know hasn't thought about any of this yet. Hit like if this kind of practical, grounded content is what you're looking for, and subscribe to Food Decider so you don't miss what we put out next. We'll see you in the next one.